Hello guys, it's D to the B here, and we are at the final conclusion of Loki and the review series. As I said before, I do apologize for episode 5 not being released on time. I was extremely busy, but I managed to put both episode reviews in one video. This video might be a little long. I do apologize. I just had a lot to say about both these episodes. And this is going to be an intense episode. Oh boy, this episode is intense for the review series. I'm going to leave you to it. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Hello guys, it's D to the B here, and today we're going to be talking about Loki episode 5 and 6. As I said, in why I haven't made a review yet video, I have been extremely busy, and I've also had other things to do besides work. So, let's get into episode 5. So the 5th episode begins where we left off last time, where Loki has met up with these alternate universe Lokis, and they are escaping this cloud being that is terrorizing them. Meanwhile, we also continue off where female Loki is pinning down the lady who let her escape the first time, and she's like, "Give me your tracker now." Which, of course, the lady who let her escape the first time gave her the device, which was kind of stupid. I know it was a pinned down situation, but you still could have not given it to her. You could I'd rather die. And then you die. But that's just a nitpick. So the TVA leader, aka the one who let her escape last time, said that she's confused as well, and they should work together to figure out who is in charge of the TVA that isn't the time beings. Meanwhile, back with the other Lokis, we get to see their hangout, and we get to learn more about the Lokis, like the kid Loki. He killed Thor, which was interesting, I guess. That wasn't too bad. Then we find out about older Loki, who lived through his life and even survived the Mad Titan Thanos by casting an illusion that looks so real. Then we get a joke about alligator Loki and how he ate the neighbor's cat or something like that. Yeah, there's an alligator Loki, and I actually don't mind it. So, I know I've been saying hard things about female Loki because she's annoying. But these Lokis I actually don't mind as much. Are they the greatest Marvel characters? No. Are they the worst? 50-50. I think they have their moments. Not my favorite, but they're the best thing out of this show. This show has been really bad. And then we eventually go back to the TVA where they're looking for a file about the end and that stuff, where eventually it turns out it's a ruse, and they have female Loki surrounded, and female Loki escapes by pruning herself. Yes, she actually did that. So then we go back to the Lokis. They've been found out by a different Loki who ran for mayor or something. He's like the mayor of the town. And it turns out that one of the other Lokis ratted them out. And then we get a joke of Loki or the Lokis betraying each other, which was, it was kind of funny because knowing Loki's personality, he betrays people a lot. He did it with Thanos. He did it with multiple people. He's betrayed a lot of people, which I thought was kind of funny. And then eventually the other Lokis escape. Meanwhile, female Loki is in the area that normal Loki is in. And she meets up with the cloud being, which they have a small glimpse. Like they connected for a bit in the mind. Then eventually the ancient guy who I thought was dead, dang it, saves her, and eventually they meet up, both the other Lokis and female Loki and that guy who died previously, or so we thought. And they basically have a plan where female Loki is going to jinx it because she thinks that the cloud being is the guard dog for the time being, well, the real person behind the TVA. So then female Loki and Loki have their moment where they're staring into each other's eyes. I thought they were almost going to kiss, which I was going to barf if they did. And meanwhile, at some point in the episode, the lady who let female Loki escape the first time meets up with the VA agent who helped Loki and female Loki escape and who got her memories back. They have a conversation, and the lady who betrayed the TVA is like, you want to know where these beings are so you can protect them from female Loki and Loki. Which then we transition back. The Loki and the Lokis, anyway, sorry about that, are going to take on the being, but the other Lokis have decided to stay behind instead of going to where the person behind the TVA is. So Loki and female Loki try to take on the being, where Loki sets up a distraction, but then the other Loki, older Loki, makes a big old illusion to distract the being until eventually that Loki is eaten. Female Loki eventually kills the Cloud Beast, and then they head for the place that the founder of the TVA lives in. Okay. And that's basically the whole episode. What did I think of this one? Meh? Don't get me wrong, it's still boring, but it isn't as bad as usual. This one was a decent episode. The one good thing out of the bad. The only reason I'm saying this, as I said before, the other Lokis weren't as bad as, like, female Loki. The other Lokis were interesting, where female Loki is extremely annoying, but that's part of being a Loki. Some reason I just found these people more appealing, where female Loki just made me infuriated. Like, she was so annoying. So, yeah. Not bad, but mostly saved by the other Lokis. Alright. Let's get into episode 6 of the series. Here we are, the final episode of Loki. Oh, it wasn't good. And I'm honestly not surprised, because Loki has been a very disappointing show from the beginning, and it ended disappointing in the end. And in my words that I put in my thumbnail, infuriating. Oh boy, where to start? So the episode opens up with female Loki and Loki heading towards the building that they discovered in the previous episode, where they get confronted by the cartoon clock. Which I know this character has a name, but I honestly don't care. So they meet up with her, and she says her boss is going to give them an offer so they can live out through the universe without getting detected or breaking the sacred timeline. Meanwhile, back at the TVA, the agent lady who let female Loki escape the first time is waiting for the clock lady to give her info, which the clock lady eventually comes by. The lady who let female Loki escape was like, this isn't the data I wanted. And the cartoon clock is like, that's all the data that he wants to give you. And she's like, who? And then the clock lady leaves. And eventually we meet up with that guy who got pruned in the last episode, or 2 episodes ago. And they have a big old conflict. And meanwhile, the lady who betrayed the TVA is convincing the TVA soldiers that they are variants. And back to the 2 Lokis. The Lokis find the creator of the universe. And this guy was a joke. I didn't find him funny at all. He was, what's the word? Annoying. Like, you got this guy who has been manipulating the universes or the timeline and created the TVA to make sure that his vision can't get distance, and the guy is a complete joke. He is more of a roommate than a villain. He is more than a hipster than a villain. Like, in the past, yes, there have been some Marvel villains that have been jokesters throughout the universe. But do you want me to tell you the difference between this hipster and all those villains established in the, I think, 29 movies? The difference is, at least some of the ones that were jokesters, they had something that this guy doesn't. They were still vicious, they still tried to get the job done, but this guy, he's a joke. Like, as I said, he's more roommate than a villain. He is just a joke. Like, sure, the villains in the MCU, they could joke sometimes, but they were still threatening. This guy is just a joke. You got all these villains in the past who were a bit of jokesters, but still menacing, and now we are to this guy who is just a complete joke. I just don't know. So then the guy who created the timelines and the Lokis discuss, and he explains why he created the TVA, why he is trying to send the timeline to a specific point or make it just one universe. And he basically just explains that he met up with this alternate version of himself, which they taught each other how theirs work, how their universes work, and they work together to improve it. But he also mentioned how there were some other versions of him that had different ideals. So he decided to set up this one timeline and also create the TVA. And sure, interesting concept. And they also made him seem like a threat at a point. where he could see everything. But then that's all dropped. He's like, you know how I said I know everything and I know what's going to happen and you're going to kill me and stuff? Yeah, that just went away. Like, if you lost the ability, why would you tell them that? You are a freaking idiot. So, another thing that he mentions that the Lokis could kill him and the timelines go free and berserk, or the Lokis could take over and eventually the Lokis start battling each other because the Loki we know believes that the creator of the universe is right, where female Loki just wants to kill him. And female Loki believes that he's lying and she needs to kill him. Sorry about that. That was hangers. So they have a big old duel. Loki tries convincing her, and here comes the worst nightmare of my life. They finally did it. They kissed. This scene was just as cringe as I thought it was going to be. Like, it is so awkward just thinking about it. That two Lokis are kissing each other. The exact same person. It is disgusting. So after the kiss, female Loki backstabs Loki and kills the Time Creator, which leads to the universes spreading out and colliding, where then Loki meets up with the TVA, but the TVA people do not recognize him. The statue is changed from the time beings to the guy who created the timeline. And that's how the episode ends. What a dumpster fire. Oy vey. That episode was infuriating. But I'm not surprised because Loki has been garbage from the start. Alright. I'm gonna give my review on this, and then I'm going to give my final conclusion on the series as a whole. My rating of this episode, 0 out of 10. This was awful. Now, to the conclusion. Loki was a disappointment from the start. I was hoping that this series would fix the universe after the damage of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I was apparently wrong from when I first saw the first episode. This series is awful and puts more damage that the modern Marvel Cinematic Universe has done. It has made the damage even worse. Another thing that I was hoping with the series that it would get better, at least. Nope, that was wrong. It went from awful to boring to boring to boring to boring to meh to infuriating. If I did that counting right. So, yeah. This series is a complete disaster, and you should skip out on it. If you have been watching this review series, or at least this review on Loki, and don't know if you want to watch the series or not, my advice, don't watch it. This series is not worth it. It is just a bad pile of garbage that will make your mind blow up. And not in excitement, but frustration. Frustration. That's all this series has been. I'm just so glad it's over. And all that I'm excited for left on Disney Plus right now, that I'm still technically enjoying is The Bad Batch. And that's about it. And the next chapter of the Marvel Cinematic Universe has already come out. I'm not sure if I'm going to watch it, but what I've heard, it's some mixed views. But the movie still did very well. And that I could tell, the box office records for Black Widow, according to this article, are 80 million on opening weekend. Like, that is amazing. Even though the film might be good or bad, you have to admit that is a good box office record. Is it as good as Endgame's was? I don't know. All I know is that Endgame overthrew the movie Avatar, the blue one, not the Avatar The Last Airbender. I've heard that one's good. But continuing on, this series has been a disappointment. And all my hopes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe are dead. They're all dead. And will I continue with it? Will I not continue with it? I don't know. Maybe I'll continue with it to see if it gets worse, or just to do it for views. I don't know yet. But yeah, what a disappointment. What did you guys think of Loki? I know someone is gonna at least have a different opinion, and that's fine. Just be respectful about it. Alright. Have a nice day, guys. Tell me what you guys think about the series as a whole in the comments.